Hello, we are Camila, Monica, Jorge, Paula, Valentina, and me, Marce, and today we are going to explain you the understanding lead user research principles.
Key elements of lead user research. Lead user research is conducted in the initial phases of an innovation project for the purpose of identifying strong market opportunities and developing concepts for new products or services. The research process is divided into four phases. First, selection of the approach and scope of the project. A management group first decides the new product or service and the area that will be the focus of the initiative. Second, identify trends and needs. Start with the leading users conducting in-depth research on trends and needs in emerging markets. Third, gathering information on the needs and solutions of the main users. The project team interviews the main users to gain a deeper insight into emerging needs. 4. Concept developed with core users. A select group of core users and experts come together for intensive work. A different approach to concept development. The lead user's approach to concept development differs from the conventional method in three very important ways. First, top users research captures the vast amount of necessary information owned by leading users. Conventional market research asks typical consumers what they think or need tomorrow in the form of new products or services. However, average users cannot say precisely what they will want in the future. They can only speculate about their future needs or requires improvement to existing products or services. So, the research of leading users is focused of investigating the users, lead users, and they have proven to be much richer and more accurate source of information on future market needs than regular users become. They are active and dealing with the shortcomings on existing products and services. Second, top users research capture prototypes and ideas for new products and services developed by top users and potential customers use experts. Studies have shown that leading users often experience emerging needs and can develop prototypes for products and services that can meet these needs. Lead users' prototype can become the basis for new commercially attractive products and services that are attractive to regular users in mainstream market. And third, lead users research accelerated concept development. Leading users research have proven to be much faster concept development than conventional approach used by many companies. The process is faster in large part because the technical and marketing departments work collaboratively throughout a study. Lead users are pioneers in innovation.
What is a lead user? Von Hippel defines lead users as individuals or firms that have different characteristics. First, lead users have new product or service needs that will be general in a marketplace. Second, lead users accept to benefit significantly by finding a solution to their needs. As a result, they often develop new product or service themselves because they can't or don't want to wait for them to become available commercially. Third, lead users have real world experience with future market conditions. Why? Because living in the future, relative to others in the target market, is an important attribute of lead users because potential solutions are strongly restricted by his or her own actual experience. For example, one reason is that individuals who use a product in a familiar way are strongly blocked for seeing how it could be used in a novel way, an effect called functional fixedness. Fourth, imagining the future is difficult. Understanding it by living there is easy. The value of having a very strong need. The fifth characteristic of lead users is that they accept to benefit in a major way by finding or creating a solution for the needs they have encountered under the future condition in which they live. As shown by studies of an industrial product and process innovation, the greater the benefit a user accepts to obtain from a needed novel product or process, the greater will be investment in obtain a solution. Lead users are different from early adopters because early adopters are the first people to buy an existing product or service, and the lead users are people that are facing needs for product or service that don't yet exist on the market. Our research has shown that each of the two characteristics of lead users makes a value and independent contribution to type of new product need and solution information that they possess. Types of lead users. First, lead users in the target application and market, people who use the product. Second, lead users of similar application in advantage along markets, more technical people of similar products. And third, lead users with respect to important attribute of need faced by user in the target application, people who respect the essence of the product.
Von Hippel found that users are often the developers of industrial products and equipment processes that become commercially successful. Two of these studies show an especially high proportion of user-developed products. In one of them, he focused on the four important categories of scientist instrument used by scientists and others to collect and analyze data. In the second, his focus was on the two classes of processes equipment used in the electronic industry. His rich findings shows that users were the developers 77% of the 92 major scientist instrument innovation studies, and the developers of 67% of the processes machinery innovation studies. Studies done by numerous other researchers have found users to be the developers of many or the majority commercially successful industry innovation in range of fields. Consumer products developed by lead users develop innovations in the area of the consumer products and services have not been subject to the same formal study as have the industrial products. Still, there are many examples of important consumer products that have been developed by inventive, leading-edge users. For example, the prototype of protein-based hair conditioners, for instance, actually came from an inventive woman in the early 50s who rinsed her hair with homemade conditioners containing eggs or beer to give their hair more body and shine. There are also numerous commercially successful products that are based on consumer prototypes. Pillsbury, for instance, derived one of its four cake mix lines directly from the recipes of Bake Off winners.
Application of lead user methods. We already have defined the characteristics of lead users and look up the ways that the needs and solution information they pose can be useful to manufacturers. Then we show how the elements we have discussed are incorporated into the real world, lead user research, but looking at the actual lead user case studies. Since the first lead user case study by Urban and von Hippel in 1988, firms in a variety of industries have done successful lead user studies in both the United States and Europe. Now we are going to show you a brief review of a typical case of study. Now we are going to talk about a case of a study that is called Olympic Snack and is a performance enhancing food product. Lee Meadow, principal of the consulting firm Business Genetics, and Eric von Hippel carried out a lead user study for a major manufacturer of gut products. The company was seeking a new kind of snack food. In this study, lead user, nutrition experts, and internal scientists developed a concept for a performance-enhanced snack designed to appeal the amateur athlete market. Prior to the study, the client company's market research group had identified several trends that suggest opportunity for new snack foods. One was a growing public interest in healthy food, and another was an increasing interest in workout activities and sports by weekend athletes. Based on this interest, praise and discussion with the management, Meadows and Von Hippel decided to focus their lead user studies on developing new product concepts related to a combination of these two trends. Snacks foods that will be healthy and at the same time contribute in some way towards improved and athletic performance. At the beginning of the story, they knew that nutrition was obviously connected in a general way to athletic performance, but they didn't know whenever nutrition in the form of snacking could actually help performance. Thus, they began their work by scanning a range of sport magazines aimed at serious amateur athletes such as runners and weightlifters. They also read research articles in the field of sport nutrition to see if experts in the field had evidence for a significant link between certain forms of scanning and improved athletic performance. In their reading, they found that there was in fact a solid evidence for the performance enhancing a value of eating some kind of snacks before, during, and after athletic activities. For example, eating certain nutrients after athletic performance could speed recovered muscles. The next step in the lead user study involved conducting telephone interviews with a number of elite athletes, prominent coach, and nutrition scientists. The goal was to identify a small group of innovative lead users and experts to collaborate with the product developers at the client firm in developing novel concepts for a performing enhancing snack. Some of those interviewed were Olympic athletes, their coach, and scientists associated with training the athletes. The lead user expert group they assembled, including a nutrition scientist who studied the impact of nutrition on Navy SEALs, an elite Navy combat group. Others include a competitive bike racer and winner of national events in a weight. During the course of interviews, Meadows and Von Hippel found that the knowledge about the performance-enhancing snack foods was segmented between the nutrition scientists and the athletes. The scientist has identified the ingredients that the snacks should contain and understood how snacking should be timed to achieve enhanced athletic performance. The athletes knew how the cookies should be formulated for easy consumption in the midst of an athletic event. To be able to clearly focus on the first one and then the other type of information, the story designers decided to run into two concept development workshops. One was composed mainly of the nutrition scientist, and the other one was made up primarily of elite athletes and the coach with a special interest in nutrition. Participants in the workshop succeed in developing an advanced concept for an Olympic snack, which specifies what the snack food should contain as well as how it should be formulated and packaged. Of course, lead users and the nutrition scientists could only comment on what they knew about it, but they didn't care too much about the taste. On the other hand, some athletes would care about the taste. Therefore, after the workshop, the company's product development experts at consumer taste preference to lead user concept before tasting in the target markets. Management of the company was very pleased with the concept that came out of this lead user project and planned to introduce the resulting new snack food product in the line of healthy snacks. The lead user routes of the Olympic snack are similar to those of Gatorade that was initially developed by the University of Florida scientists for the university football team. The difference is that in the case of the Olympic snack product, the project team systematically developed a novel concept via lead user research method, whereas Gatorade was the result of a lucky strike for product developers. Other companies in both high and low technology industries also have success stories to report from their lead user studies. For example, a recent study at Harvard Products Manufacturer developed a family of novel abrasive products concept for the consumer and building contractor markets.
Not everything is rosy when we talk about this type of studies, so let's talk about barriers to implementing lead user studies. Whenever conditions affecting a product or service category are shifting, lead users will always exist, regardless of whether there are individuals or groups who want to be ahead of the trend. Some users will always expect more benefits than others. People or companies, including the manager, looking to do a study of their primary user get useful information in an immediate and intuitive way. To understand this, I will give you an example. Manufacturers in the cosmetic industry know that their lead users are always looking for tips and new makeup techniques, so it is intuitive that the product should be more versatile. But despite this, many managers may come to question what lead users have to teach product or service developers. An example would be the computer memory chip makers might will say we already know that the users want faster and cheaper chips. So given this, what else could we learn from them? The lead users might answer that what the manager says is true. But if they are looking to see the file in which they operate in a much broader way, they should be asked different questions to keep winning. The questions could be that is the way in which emerging trends and needs are currently attacked the best? Also, are them focusing on some specific problems that are really important to the leading users? And suddenly the lead users wants to separate the main idea from the product or service and turn into something else? Therefore, managers must ask themselves different questions in order to allow the possibilities of innovation out of the box to identify and consider it. So they will almost always find that the study of the lead user is value. But to do that, the managers and the company should change the perspective. The main difficulty that managers and the company can have when starting to understand the methods of the lead users is how the marketing research should be carried out and which is the best way in the development of the strategy. There are two aspects that can be extremely specific to employees and the company managers. First, sophisticated users can be a source of design data and product ideas. Two, the same sophisticated users can be a source of information for needs, but these may have difficulties with the idea that the R&D and marketing sector should work hand in hand with the lead user, because this user must be taken as a primary asset and requires administration to allocate extra resources for the development of activities. Unfortunately, managers may become skeptical of the value of market research for a project that involves its users. Therefore, when a business leader hears that a major person-hours commitment is required to do a primary user study, a typical first reaction is, "We can't afford to tie our best people up for this." Many are even more dismayed when they hear that the lead user study will require more money to be budgeted for a concept development in the initial phase than they are used to. So, in light of the above, Robert Cooper's finding in his study of new product development practices in major U.S. company in 1994, it showed that in-depth exploratory market research at the beginning of an innovation project is one of the keys to success. Now, I'm gonna give you two tips for overcoming barriers in attitude. The first one is that everyone knows that users innovate in our field. So this refers to the company being aware that the user can innovate at any time. An example may be with video games. Gamers began to get together to play their games, which allowed gaming companies to create a multiplayer. And the other one is that the lead user method will not work here. This refers to the company knowing that the users cannot innovate, but that the company itself must. An example is redesign old products or services that were already fashionable or not and take them out again so that the users can try them again.
Now we are going to talk about some extra applications that have a lead user. The lead user research methods can be used for much more than the development of new products and services. Some examples where can be applied is in topics like products and process improvement, to the development of novel corporate strategies, and to the development of novel government policies. Basically, can be applied in any area where some users are ahead of others. So, we can use this method in a lot of areas into the company, but it's really important always keeping in mind the goal is always the same, to identify and learn from innovations development by lead users. The writer suggests using especially for innovative areas of the company. In order to improve in these areas, the method gives us several strategies that facilitate the innovation work. It will enable firms to gain more accurate understanding for future market needs. Lead user research results in higher quality product concepts because development work is guided by higher quality data compared to conventional marketing research, and is a much faster way to development novel product and service concept. The book recommended us not to take the search for this user lightly, and for this it gives us centered recommendation, which we will take as important tips to remember. First, lead users are not just a different name for early adopters in your marketplace. They face emerging needs before commercial ones. That is to say that one many occasion products or service that can satisfy their needs have not yet been created. For this reason, they are driving to create service prototypes by themselves. This is the main difference between both. The second one, lead users not only are they found in some current age users, but several are in advanced analog industries or in totally different fields. And last one is the best lead users are usually too rare to be eventually found.